I'm reasonably certain that most of you have absolutely no idea who I am, so allow me to begin by introducing myself. My name is Marilyn Minor, and my husband Ron and I moved to the community this past winter. You can always find Ronnie. He's the guy wearing the big blue tallis on Shabbos morning. My most enduring claim to fame, however, is that I'm Yehuda Buckweitz's mother and Tamar's mother-in-law, and of course, Simon and Nessa's bubby. I would like to take a moment to just publicly thank Yehuda and Tamar for bringing us to such a wonderful community, and for all of you for making us feel so welcome. When I was told that the topic of discussion tonight was the time of our lives, I have terrible allergies. I started thinking of all the different phrases that we have for time. One day at a time, killing time, time is money, time is flying, time is dragging, and of course the one that we have and hear the most, I have no time. That one especially resonates at this time of year when we're all involved in preparing for the holidays, but I don't think it's quite as bad as Pesach. All these phrases reflect our perception of time. Time itself never changes. There are the same 24 hours in every day, the same 7 days in every week, and so on and so forth. It's what we do in these hours and days, and what happens to us in these hours and days that affects our perception of whether we have too much time or not enough. I remember having 3 small children and running in 7 different directions all at the same time and saying, I have no time. There are not enough hours in the day. And then I remember even later on driving daily from Long Island to North Jersey, an act of complete and utter insanity, and saying there are even less hours in the day than before. But of course, none of this is true. Time didn't change. It was my responsibilities that grew, and the fact that as most busy people, I really tend to overschedule myself. Now, this is a habit that I have not managed to conquer yet. Now that I'm retired and supposedly have more time to work with, I still put too many things in one day. I hope that with time, I learn to stop doing that. But just as there are days that seem to be too short, there are days that never end, that stretch on and on, when the hands on the clock never seem to move forward at all. The longest day of my life occurred almost exactly 5 years ago today. On that day, my oldest son, Avi, was scheduled to have kidney transplant surgery. As if that was not enough to worry about, his living donor was my daughter, Malka. That day began about 4 a.m. and immediately got worse, as if that were possible, when the traffic from Long Island to Manhattan was more terrible than usual. But God bless Ronnie, he knows every shortcut and every back road in existence. And my son, with his characteristically dry sense of humor, said to me, calm down, Mom. They can't exactly start without us. Needless to say, I was in no mood to calm down. We spent the day in the surgical waiting room at Mount Sinai Hospital in the city. They have in the waiting room this huge electronic board that really reminded me of the big board in the Long Island Railroad waiting room in Penn Station. Each surgery was posted on this board along with the status of the patient. I can't even think about it. Every few minutes I would get up to look at this board and I would panic because nothing had changed. And everyone would remind me that it was only about 2 minutes since I checked the last time. Ronnie did his best to keep me calm. I sat and did needlepoint because I had to do something. And Yehuda paced back and forth with his BlackBerry, but always keeping one eye on me to see how I was doing. Hours later, the first surgery was over, and I could see my daughter. Even more hours later, the transplant was complete, and I could see my son. Baruch Hashem, everything is fine, and everyone is doing well. Malka's married and has a small baby, and Avi has been able to hold down a very demanding job and to live independently for the first time in his life. Just this past week, he completed an extensive battery of tests to establish a 5-year baseline, and I'm happy to say that everything is still fine and everything is working as it should. But what can we learn from this story? Over the last 5 years, I've come to see that no matter what our perception of time is, whether we think we have enough or not enough, if time is too long or time is too short, what time really is a gift. We have had 5 years to be together as a family, to celebrate simchas, marriages, and the birth of children. My son has had 5 years to work, to learn to live again, and to be Simon's very, very favorite Uncle Avi. We've also had 5 years together to sustain each other through illnesses, through hard times, through the loss of loved ones. That is what families are supposed to do with the time that they have. They're supposed to be together and to keep each other strong. But this is something I took for granted before this event, and something that I hope never to take for granted again. If we look closely at the davening on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we can really see that much of it is about time. When we ask to be written and ultimately sealed in the book of life, what are we asking for except the gift of time? Time to be with family, time for friends, time for community, time for children and grandchildren. Let us try to use this gift wisely and not squander it in baseless hatred and useless bickering. Let's try to reconnect or remain connected to family and friends, and always try to find something redeeming in any given situation, no matter how difficult. But above all, I will always remember that the last 5 years of my family's life has been an incredible gift, a gift that I remain extremely grateful for, and one that I pray will continue for many years to come. Shana Tova.